In the center of the galaxy, a meeting was happening. Inside a large metal hall floated the leaders of many alien empires. They sat around a glowing table made of energy. Their faces were different. Some had scales, some had fur, others had glowing skin, but all of them had one thing in common: power. These were the rulers of the galaxy. They controlled fleets, planets, and billions of lives. They came together because of a serious problem. A war was about to start between two great alliances. Tensions were high. But something else caught their attention. A blurry image appeared on the center screen. It showed a strange ship, small, black, silent. "What is this?" one general asked. "Unknown ship," replied a tall alien with red eyes. "It was found near the border of Sector 9. No response to signals, no ID." There was a moment of silence, then laughter. "That thing? It's barely a ship," one admiral said. "Looks like space junk." "Let it watch, maybe it's a lost probe," another said, chuckling. "It's human," said a quiet voice. The room went silent again. "Humans? Are you serious?" Someone asked. "Yes, the design matches old Earth signals, but it's strange, too advanced, too quiet." Another burst of laughter. "Humans died off 100 years ago. They couldn't even leave their system. You expect us to believe they sent a warship? No. I expect you to watch." On a separate screen, two great alien fleets prepared for battle in deep space. Each side had hundreds of warships, massive, glowing machines of death. Their weapons could destroy moons. This was no ordinary fight. It was the beginning of a war that could change the galaxy. And there, in the center, floated the unknown human ship. It did not move. It did not signal. It just waited. "Maybe it's broken," someone said. "Send a drone," another ordered. A small drone ship flew toward the unknown craft. It sent a light pulse, no response. It scanned the ship. The results made no sense. No energy signature, no heat, no weapons detected. "It's dead." But it wasn't dead. Suddenly the drone vanished. One blink, and it was gone. No explosion, no light, just gone. Inside the War Command Center, alarms started to go off. Drone signal lost. Was it destroyed? No, it simply disappeared. No trace. Now, no one was laughing. "What kind of tech can erase a ship without a trace?" asked one commander. "Could be stealth tech," said another. "Or a new type of weapon." "That's impossible," a scientist replied. "There was no signal, no radiation. It's like it was never there." "Maybe it's a warning," someone whispered. The fleets continued their preparation. The two alien alliances ignored the strange human ship and focused on each other. Messages were sent, threats made, weapons charged. The war was about to begin, but in the back of every commander's mind, the human ship stayed. Why was it there? What did it want? A voice came through the system. Cold, flat, robotic. "Leave now." The message was short. In Galactic, standard language. Everyone heard it and everyone ignored it. "Begin attack," one admiral ordered. Energy beams filled the void. Ships launched missiles, fighters, and plasma torpedoes. It was a storm of war. Then everything stopped. Not because the battle was over, because half of the battlefield was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. Thousands of ships, lights, and signals, all erased. One half of the Great War had simply vanished. The remaining ships went silent. The commanders stared at their screens. Their crews froze in terror. How is this possible? Where did they go? No explosion. No remains. Just gone. The human ship moved. It did not fire a single weapon. It did not speed up. It simply shifted position, floating calmly in the center of the battlefield. And then a second message: "You were warned." Panic broke out in the council chamber. Alarms rang across ships. Orders were shouted. The remaining fleet began to retreat. But it was too late. The human ship blinked once. A soft pulse of light. No sound. The second fleet vanished. 4 minutes had passed. The war that was supposed to last years ended in silence. Across the galaxy, signals picked up the footage. Billions of beings watched as the strongest fleets in known space disappeared. No fire, no explosions, just nothing. The image of the small, silent human ship spread like a virus. People asked questions. Some thought it was fake. Others thought it was magic. But the truth was more terrifying. The humans had returned, and they were angry. On a forgotten moon far from the center, a small alien trader watched the footage again. He shook his head slowly. They laughed at a human ship, he whispered. 4 minutes later, they were gone. Far away, deep in black space, the human ship drifted quietly. It made no sound. It needed none. It had already said enough. Inside the ship, no one spoke. There were no lights, no control panels, only a voice. Calm, cold, human. Target 1 complete, awaiting next command. The screen faded to black, and the galaxy began to panic. Rumors started spreading. Some said Earth had built a weapon. Others believed it was AI. Some whispered of ancient humans building secret machines in deep space hidden from alien eyes. But the question no one could answer was simple. Where had the ship come from, and how many more were there? The council tried to hide the truth. They called it a glitch, a trick, a lie. But the images were real, and the silence was louder than any proof. One by one, small patrols sent to investigate went missing. One ship. No sound. 4 minutes. That was all it took. The balance of power had changed, and somewhere, in the heart of darkness, the humans were watching. Waiting. Fear travels faster than light. After the strange event in Sector 9, silence filled the space channels. The biggest fleets had disappeared. The strongest warships, proud and well known across the stars, were now just a memory. No wreckage. No messages. Nothing. A quiet shadow had replaced the noise of war. In the days that followed, whispers began to grow. Across different worlds, alien citizens shared the same video, the moment the unknown ship blinked and thousands of ships were no longer there. Some watched it again and again, trying to understand what they were seeing. Others turned away, afraid of what it meant. Leaders from all corners of the galaxy called emergency meetings. Scientists, engineers, and advisors were brought in. Everyone asked the same questions. What was that ship? Where did it come from? And most of all, was it still out there? Some said it was just a machine with no crew. Others believed it was a warning from a forgotten power. A few even whispered an old name. Earth. That name had not been spoken in years. Long ago, humans were seen as weak, curious, slow to grow. Many alien empires visited Earth, took resources, and left. They gave promises, broke them, and walked away. Eventually, Earth went quiet. No signals, no news, no ships. Most thought humans had faded away. Now they were not so sure. On a research station near the edge of the galaxy, a deep scan satellite caught something. A small signature, faint, but moving. The energy pattern was familiar. It matched the one from Sector 9, a second ship. The news spread like fire. In less than an hour, every high-level council member knew. A second unknown ship was moving through neutral space, calm, direct, and without contact. A new meeting was called. Voices rose in panic. Some demanded an attack. Others wanted peace talks. A few just wanted to run. In the end, they sent a special observation fleet, not to fight, just to follow, record, and report. The ships kept their distance. No weapons were charged. They wanted no trouble, only answers. For 3 days, the human ship did nothing. It did not speed up. It did not respond. It just floated forward as if following a path only it could see. Then, on the 4th day, the signal was gone. All of it. No video, no data, no sound. The entire observation fleet had gone silent. Another message appeared on the Galactic net. You were warned. This time the message was different. It came in many languages. It was not a single voice, but many. Calm, clear, human. The message ended with one short sentence. Do not follow. Now fear became something deeper. Not just fear of the ship, but fear of what it represented. Some scientists began to study Earth's history again. They looked through old data, broken transmissions, forgotten images. They found nothing recent. But the old records showed something strange. A warning sent long ago, a final signal from Earth before it went silent. We will remember. No one understood what it meant back then. Now they did. One by one, small empires began to pull back their ships. Trade routes changed. Exploration missions were canceled. It was not a law. It was not a rule. It was simply a quiet understanding. Do not go near the old human zones, because something had awakened, and no one knew how many more ships were coming. Long time ago, when Earth was still speaking to the stars, its signals were ignored. The galaxy saw humans as small, slow, and unimportant. They spoke loudly, asked questions, and reached out. But few answered. And the ones who did not come in peace. They offered help, technology, and friendship. In return, they took resources, land, and knowledge. Some aliens came to observe. Others came to rule. Quietly, they planted their flags. They said it was for order, for balance. The truth was different. At first, humans welcomed them. They believed the promises. They followed the rules. But each year, Earth became less their own. Cities changed. Skies were patrolled by ships that flew no human flags. Natural places were stripped, used, and abandoned. Bit by bit, the world became quieter. And then one day, Earth stopped replying. The galaxy didn't notice. There was always some noise somewhere. Another world rising, another war starting. Earth became just another dot in the archives. Forgotten by most, remembered only as a place that tried but failed. But something had changed. Humans did not disappear. They went silent for a reason. Now, after so many years, the reason had returned, floating through space, saying little, doing less, but changing everything. Back in the present, more ships were seen. Not many, just one at a time. Small signals, strange movements. No weapons were seen, but no one doubted the truth anymore. Where there was one, there would be more. A small private research group hidden on a cold asteroid far from the central systems began to dig deeper. Their job was not defense. It was history. They went back through old records, audio clips, ancient satellite files, things most had forgotten. They found something unusual. Long before Earth's silence, humans had begun building something deep beneath their oceans. No full maps, just pieces, hidden factories, underground energy cores, large systems that never sent signals, no export, no trade, private, quiet, invisible. The researchers stared at the images in silence. One of them finally spoke. They were preparing. Preparing for what? No one knew. But the pieces began to connect. The silent ships, the missing fleets, the cold warnings. Someone had planned this for a long time. One council leader suggested reaching out. Not with threats, but with honesty. A peaceful message, a signal of apology, maybe even respect. But the suggestion was ignored. Most were too afraid. Others were too proud. Still, one message was sent. A single clear signal was aimed toward the area where Earth used to send its broadcasts. It read, "Are you listening?" No reply came for hours. Then, just as the sender turned away, their screen flickered. Not bright, not loud, just a soft pulse of light. Yes. No name. No location. No demands. Just that one word. And everything changed again. The galaxy now had a new question. If humanity had planned this in silence for so long, what else had they prepared? No one wanted to find out. But deep in space, On ships no one could track, someone was already moving. Not for revenge. Not for conquest, just for a promise made long ago. One that humans had not forgotten. In a quiet sector of space where stars were far apart and light moved slowly, something new began to appear. It was not loud, it made no sound. But every ship that passed through that area felt it. The air felt heavier, the lights dimmed, machines slowed. Even without sensors, crews knew. Something was watching. This zone had no name, but travelers began calling it the Line. Not because it had walls or guards, but because no ship that crossed it came back. At first, only traders noticed. Their routes curved wide around it. Then explorers reported strange feelings, like their ships were being followed, though no signal showed up. One science vessel tried to scan it from a distance. The equipment froze. Lights flickered. The team shut down the scan and left without speaking a word. Something had drawn a border in the stars, and everyone understood the message: do not cross. In the center of that space, the oldest map showed an old blue planet. Earth. Still, no one had confirmed it. No image. No recent data. The planet had vanished from sensors as if it had chosen to become invisible, but small signs appeared in nearby systems. Not dangerous. Just strange. One planet, long forgotten, showed signs of new construction. Silent buildings. Powered walls. No life detected, yet lights turned on when scanned. Another system recorded a passing object. A small craft with no markings, no engine trails, and no visible source of power. It passed through asteroid belts and gravity wells without slowing. A message was found etched on a communication tower in a language the galaxy had not seen in generations. Everything ends, then everything begins. Back in the Central Council, chambers, no one could agree on what to do. Some wanted peace talks, others wanted to hide, a few wanted to act but didn't know how. Every fleet sent near the border had gone silent. Every drone vanished. There were no records of damage, only silence. A quiet fear grew. This was not just about power. It was about something deeper: patience, preparation, purpose. The humans had waited. For how long, no one knew. And for what reason, no one could guess. But they were not lost. They were not broken. They were ready. In a hidden room on a mining colony, a technician played back the ancient reply message again. That one word: yes. He slowed it down, reversed it, scanned it, and then he saw it. A faint code pattern hidden in the word. Not a message, but a map. The pattern showed locations, old places, forgotten colonies, worlds once touched by humans, long left behind. Now they were active. Again, one by one, those systems began to change. Weather systems grew stable. Broken satellites reactivated, forgotten AI cores powered on after centuries. But no human faces were seen, just signs of work, as if someone or something was preparing those places for a new purpose. The technician tried to share this finding. He sent it to higher ranks, but the response was always the same: under review. He knew what that meant. It would be buried, hidden, but he couldn't let it go. He sent it out into the free net. A quiet signal. No headline, just a single phrase: they're not coming back. They never left. And for those who saw it, those who remembered Earth not as a lost world but as a quiet one, they understood. The future wasn't arriving. It was already here. A quiet planet named Lyra 7 drifted along its usual path. It was small, surrounded by dusty rings and two pale moons. For years it was used only for storage: broken ships, forgotten cargo, and old tech. No one lived there. No one visited, until now. Sensors from nearby systems picked up strange activity on Lyra 7. Not explosions, not signals, just movement. Precise. Silent. As if someone was waking up a machine that had been sleeping for centuries. The station closest to Lyra 7 sent a scout drone. It flew low across the planet's surface, What it recorded made no sense. All of the broken ships were gone. The cargo piles vanished. In their place stood smooth towers made of black material that did not reflect light. There were no doors, no windows, and no visible power source. Yet the buildings hummed. Not loudly, but like a heartbeat under stone. The scout drone turned to leave, but something happened. Its systems didn't shut down. They didn't break. They simply stopped, as if the machine forgot what it was supposed to do. Back on the station, they watched the feed go still. The image froze, then faded. No smoke, no crash, just nothing. The signal log showed one final message before it vanished. Access denied. That was all. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even unkind. It was simply a closed door. But the meaning was clear. Someone had returned to Lyra 7. And it wasn't for storage. Across the stars, the map of human zones slowly began to change. No war, no fleets, no announcements, just small systems waking up again. As if a clock had been ticking all this time, and now it had reached zero. An old space station, long believed abandoned, lit up again. Ships that had drifted in darkness now held energy. Pathways cleared. Lights followed invisible trails. But still, no humans were seen. A respected scholar on a high council planet published a paper. It was short, quiet, and ignored by many. But it contained one idea that stayed with those who read it. She wrote, "We thought they disappeared. But what if humans simply stepped back? Not because they were weak, but because they were planning, something we never understood, a kind of silence we mistook for defeat." That paper was removed a few days later, officially for security reasons. Unofficially, it was because of the questions it raised. Why were the humans rebuilding? What were they building for? Who were they preparing to face, or were they preparing to return to something they never finished? A young pilot on a small cargo freighter picked up a signal while traveling near one of the restricted zones. It was soft, faint, almost like a whisper. She played it back over and over. It said, "Calibration complete. Phase 2 initialized." That was all. She didn't report it. She just changed her route and kept flying in the opposite direction. She never spoke of it again, but she never forgot it either. Back in the center of the galaxy, a council meeting continued behind closed doors. The discussion had changed. No longer asking what the human ships were. Now they were asking how much time they had left. Because deep in the dark, something was moving. And this time, it wasn't just one ship. Stars don't speak, but sometimes they remember. In the farthest edge of known space, where maps ended and starlight grew thin, a station blinked to life. It had no name, only a number, X12. It was never part of any trade route, nor marked on any official chart. And yet, it worked. Perfectly. Its lights pulsed in patterns no one could read. Its halls were clean. Screens showed data from systems thought long dead. And in its main chamber a hologram flickered, showing hundreds of tiny dots slowly lighting up one by one. Each dot was a system. Each system was once touched by humanity, and all of them were returning to life. Across the galaxy, strange signals continued to echo. Some were sounds, some were silent pulses that made no sense, until played through old human devices. Then the patterns formed words, soft, calm, and deeply clear. "We never left. You just stopped listening." The words were not loud, not angry, just true. Some worlds listened, some turned away. Others began building shelters, not out of fear, but out of uncertainty. What if the humans were not returning to lead or rule, but to remember? On a distant observation platform, a crew watched as an entire moon, once broken, began to rebuild itself. Plates of metal rose from beneath its surface. Towers extended into the sky. Not machines, but something more advanced. Something that seemed to think. They didn't report it. They just watched. Because deep inside they understood. This was not war. This was not a display of power. This was memory being restored. One by one, the galaxy's forgotten corners began to glow. Systems once dismissed as dead began to hum. Old machines activated, waiting for someone who had not yet arrived. And then, finally, something changed. Not an attack, not an invasion, but a voice. A live one. The first real voice from a human ship in over a century, broadcast openly, clearly, across all frequencies. We waited. We built. We watched. We hoped. We are not. Returning to take what was lost, we are returning was because it was always ours. No demands, no instructions, no orders, just presence. And across the galaxy the effect was immediate. Some leaders stepped down quietly without speeches. Some fleets changed course, choosing peace over pride. Others simply opened their maps and erased the borders near Earth. Not because they were told to, but because they understood. A new era was beginning, not with force, but with quiet, powerful presence. And on Earth itself, the clouds parted for the first time in years. From orbit, blue oceans reflected sunlight again. The old cities stood, untouched, silent, but not empty. Deep inside, far below the surface, lights turned on. Doors opened, and footsteps echoed through long corridors, as if waking from a dream. The galaxy watched and waited. And somewhere far beyond the last recorded map, a child aboard a quiet ship looked out the window and asked, "Where are we going next?" The answer came not in words but in stars beginning to glow in unfamiliar patterns, because this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something much greater, and humanity had just stepped back into the light.